Welcome to Tanked Up, a podcast all about video games and beer. I'm Ben. I'm here with Aadil.
Hey.
And Lucy.
No, it's actually about politics, but it's not about politics.
Ooh.
But it is, but it isn't.
There's an undercurrent of politics that, obviously, but it's not about politics.
Yeah, no, people have just
almost
shut off
everything...
their podcast player right now. It's like, no, guys, it's not really about politics. We're an apolitical podcast.
And by that you mean we're a political podcast.
Yeah. Very good. Nice.
We have political stances. We're not afraid of weighing in on them, but we are about craft games and video beers.
Yes.
Yeah, because people want to get away from all the
Beers
hard stuff of real life.
Videos. That's true, Lucy. That's very true.
Yeah, we're on the videos. Yeah.
Yes. They need that escapism. And
Yes.
Beer and games does very well.
Ooh, what controller is that?
This is the one I got ages ago. The one that
Oh yes, is that?
says Out of Lives on it. And
Oh
has
yeah,
the,
that's really nice. Yeah.
nameplate because of the last controller I got for free from Microsoft when I bought my Xbox. Yeah,
Because
can you get these in the UK yet? The custom palette ones, or is it?
I've got two.
I got this one, it was only available in North America.
We've derailed the conversation already. I've got one in Jamaican colours.
Nice.
Otherwise
That's
known
very
as-
nice. That's
And I've
lemon
got
lime.
one in
Nice lemon yellow.
Yeah, it's lemon lime. It's clearly a lemon lime controller.
Guyanese colours.
Oh, nah, that's solid.
So,
And I've got the Incredible
wasted
Hulk or
£100.
Donatello.
I'd like Donatello.
A reverse
He's a way
Donatello
cooler
almost.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I tried it with the green and purple inverted, and it was not nearly as nice. Mostly because at the time you still had to have the black here,
Okay.
and it sort of is hidden by the dark purple. But with the lime green, it was like, no, these are three different colors.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've added more customization options, but yeah, it came over to the UK. Not too much after the US and Canada. I think it was like 6 months after. But yeah, those are really cool. Like, you can get like everything, pretty much every part of the controller customized. I wish PlayStation did that, because I've got quite a few PlayStation controllers. Even though I hate the DualShock, I still have so many.
That's funny.
Well, I know there is the big joke that Microsoft released controllers rather than games and stuff, but they have nailed that side of things, that customization that PlayStation just haven't worried about. I guess.
I did see a nice mint green one. Though,
yes, I think is
PlayStation.
it Alpine Green?
Yeah, it looked like
they
a
just
Teenage Mutant
released
Ninja Turtle.
Nice.
It's really cool. Yeah.
So they do bring them out occasionally.
They
They're
do,
very
yeah.
limited. They're whatever they choose. Obviously, the colours to be.
They do some good ones, but not.
There are a
Some
lot.
of them
I
are
do
horrid. Like some of the Xbox ones are horrid looking,
I do miss my gold and black DS4. There was an Amazon exclusive one.
Right.
One of the first coloured pads that they released, which obviously got taken with my PlayStation when it was robbed, and you couldn't get them anymore
Absolutely.
because they upgraded it to a fully gold one. I don't want a fully gold one. I want that. I want that split.
Ben,
Anyway,
If I spend so much time on this earth, I'll make sure that you get a custom DualShock 4. Even when the PlayStation 26 is out, I'll make sure you get a gold and black.
your last dying breath.
Yes.
Make
Ben,
it so.
yeah.
Yes. Good. Let's open some beers. I'm very thirsty, so I'm going to start this week. I have picked up another beer from Yonder Brewing and Blending. This one is called Dunstan's Exile. Yonder are very difficult to find out what the actual beer style is, because it doesn't always specifically tell you. There's nothing on the beer which says, it is this. But it has a little bit of flavour text. Dunstan's Exile, our house pale ale, is a demonstration of flavours produced by combining light-struck noble hops with farmed and foraged botanicals, inspired by the complex yet quaffable beers of Belgian tradition. It tells me the ingredients: water, malted barley, wheat, hops, yeast, grains of paradise, lavender, orange peel, and juniper berries. 5.5%. Interesting that it gives me that sort of like those extra ingredients that they put in.
Light struck. That's what, got me.
Yes, light struck noble hops. Whether it's just noble hops, I don't know. They don't list the hops in the ingredients. But yeah, 5.5%. So I'm going to start with that one. Lucy, what are you going for this week?
I'm going to start with a double IPA. It's called, starting in bold. It's called Trekker. It's from Gipsy Hill. It's 8.2%. Let's have a look. Trekker is a big hitting double IPA. Packed full of Mosaic, Azaka, and Equinox for big, juicy fruit salad notes. All right. No hot side IBUs. Make this a super smooth, sweet, and bountiful beer. What else is there? Rounded out with oats to carry the stone fruit esters and a pillowy mouthfeel.
Ooh.
Goes well with long walks and rolling vistas. Drink it and talk to people, as I always say. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Equinox, Azaka, Mosaic, hops. Yeah, not much more to say.
Nice. 8.2%, was it?
Yeah, 440ml can. Because Gipsy Hill do 330 and 440, so yeah.
Oh, interesting.
440. Yeah.
Yeah, they're one of those interesting breweries that decide to change up their sizing, don't they?
Because I literally not too long ago had a sour IPA from them called Envoy, and that was in a 330 can. So
Be interesting again to know, what that decision is, why they decide to put some in bigger cans. Who knows? Aadil,
Hey,
what are you drinking first?
I have the Dreamlining with Track, 4.2% from Garage.
Ah,
And it is pale ale using Lalaman New England yeast to highlight the Vic Secret and Sapphire hops. The there's a lot of Spanish because of Barcelona. The malts are Maris
so
Otter.
it's Garage.
Yeah, garaje. Yeah, fair enough. Maris Otter, malted oats, flaked oats, Cara Gold, dextrin, and wheat. The Whirlpool hops are Vic Secret. The dry hops are, it's twice dry hopped Vic Secret, and then it's the yeast, the Lallemand Lull Brew New England.
And the all in Spanish.
And it is made in Barcelona.
Well, there we go.
Nice.
Oh, and it's fucking
heady.
and also kind of on my keyboard.
Uh-oh.
Well, wouldn't be a podcast without Aadil having a very frothy beer.
That's true. It hasn't happened for, maybe
2
10
episodes.
I was going to say, about 2 weeks? Yeah, man.
I can see you sniffing that beer then.
It's got a nice, very, very light nose. You don't get much. I mean, when I opened the bottle, I was getting a little bit from it, a little bit of sort of a little fragrance from it, something maybe slightly floral coming from the bottle. When it's in the glass, it's sort of, I don't know whether it's just the pour and it's kind of all disappeared. There's almost no head to it at all.
No.
There was a little on the pour, and it's kind of disappearing off the glass, off the side of the glass, quite quickly. Quite pale in colour.
Straw almost, really.
Sorry.
Straw almost.
Yeah,
Well,
it's getting. It's got
I
a
can
light hint of kind of ambery orangeness to it. Just very, very light. Flavour wise, it's really nice. Really, really easy to drink. I'm getting this very. It feels almost. What is that that's coming through? There's just this level to it. There's kind of like this beer, and then there's something else that is just sat on top of it. It's a really hard beer to describe, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of like floral notes going on in there. God, that's really hard to describe.
Yeah.
Am I getting any kind of? Oh my! It's just so easy to drink, and it just the flavour kind of. I haven't told you what the flavour is, but it sticks around just a little bit. There is just this kind of this very light, slightly sweet note that kind of lifts everything up. It's almost edging on a squash, in terms of like its consistency, its mouthfeel. That very light,
It's
you know,
quite thin. Yeah.
when you have quite a weak sort of like orange squash, and you're getting, you know, you're only getting a slight hint of orange in water essentially, rather than kind of like, you know, double strength orange squash that you filled half the glass up with squash on. It's really light. It has that nice sweetness, but it isn't a squash. You know, it is a beer. There are little things going on kind of in the background. I don't know whether it's kind of like a light sort of malty base that's just pushing through very slightly. It's giving it that little bit of extra sweetness, that's just elevating. Maybe, you know, it said a load of different ingredients that it had in there. I'm getting a little bit of kind of orange from that. Oh, there you go. It has orange peel in it as well.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Yep. Juniper berries, lavender, grains of paradise.
Oh. That's quite a lot going on. Like,
I mean, there is.
Lavender is very subtle, especially in beer.
I mean, the lavender is really subtle. It is now that I've read it. It is definitely there. I think that's the kind of the floral element that's pushing through. You know, just that slightly fragranced feel, backing up maybe those orange peels. Interesting to know what the noble hops are kind of doing in this with the barley. I think it's malted
quite
barley.
hoppy?
Yeah.
Is it like? Is that what gives it its beer like?
It might be that. It might be that, and the malts that are kind of just pushing it. I mean, I imagine they've used. I know a lot of their beers use Belgian yeast as well, so there must be some of that just creeping through, trying to play with all of these different ingredients and combining them all together. To just bring it together for really nice, really smooth, really easy beer.
I've heard that about. Is it Yonder? I always get Wander and Beyond and Yonder. So many the same. But yeah, like I've heard that about Yonder. Like they just skirt that line between being a beer and it's like they're even like in like what you typically think of like a wine bottle. So it's like
yeah. It is a 375.
Yeah, and it's like
375. So
I
it is
need
slightly
to
reminiscent
track
of
them
that.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, they are in Somerset, aren't they? Yeah. So they're only just down the road. I remember the last beer I had from them, which I think was a Suki, was either a saison.
I think it was a saison.
Yeah, I don't know whether they said it was a saison or a farmhouse ale. I can't remember exactly, but. You know, again, that was not a similar beer. It's a very different beer, but similar in the complexity that it had going on, and that it was quite light and easy to drink.
Yeah.
Out of the, you know, these are the only two beers I've had from Yonder so far, but there is a theme going on here that they're making some very, very complex, very easy to drink beers. So, it'd be interesting to find something maybe a little bit more higher in the ABV to see kind of what goes on when they push it in that direction as well. I'm gonna have to pick up another beer, aren't I, from the bottle shop from them. Oh well, what a shame, Lucy.
What a shame. Yes, my Trekker, my double IPA. It's slightly orangey in colour. It had probably half a finger head. It's not really staying on the glass at all. Quite bubbly, quite frothy. But it's very sweet. It's very malty in the aroma, and that follows through in the taste. You can't tell it's an 8.2% beer. I think the only indication would be the sweetness. But I think the sweetness is in tasting it. I think it's more sweetness from the malt rather than the alcohol.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't even say it's like... I'd say it's medium body, so it goes down quite easily. It's not a very heavy beer, even being 8.2%.
It's got a smoothness to it.
Yeah, it almost has like a kind of honey kind of taste to it. You're getting a bit of fruit, you're getting a bit of orange, especially on the aroma, but it's got like a kind of honey taste to it as well, like... slightly coating your mouth, which is the medium body, and then you're still getting like this kind of sweetness, and it tastes like honey. And
did they list honey on the back
no,
as
they
well?
didn't. That's the thing, and they said got oats in it, but it's not heavy at all. So creamy. I mean, it's quite like not quite translucent, but it's quite clear. Close. Yeah, they say stone fruit, and they mentioned that the hops that they put in. They mention it fruit salad, but like it's not bitter at all. It's very sweet, but as you say, don't attribute that sweetness to its alcohol. You attribute that to like maybe the malts and just the fruit that's going into it. So it's very easy drinking. It's nice. It's not. I don't know. I don't really associate Gipsy Hill with quite a lot of their heavy beers. I've mostly had like lights and pale ales and like blonde beers and sours with them. Yeah. So this might have been like one of the few double IPAs I've tasted from them. It's very nice, don't get me wrong, and I'd pick it up again, absolutely. It's just maybe not what I was expecting. Maybe I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it's very nice. It's very nice. It's more sweet than I'd probably prefer, like, because a lot of breweries, they can pack so much percentage in and not have it overbearingly sweet. They don't have which I like. I prefer it. I like it. Does it for me in terms of this doesn't taste like an 8.2% beer in terms of its alcohol content, but in terms of its sweetness, you could maybe attribute that to its alcohol content rather than just how much malts they packed into it. I don't think it actually mentions the malts that they put in. No, it doesn't, which is a shame. But yeah, it's really good. I'll probably finish it pretty quickly.
Yeah, excellent. And Aadil, how's your beer?
It smells quite it's like a little tropical fruity off the nose. It's quite sort of understated. It's 4%. It was you saw like how immediately frothy it was, but like it's just like a hazy juice almost. It had immediately died. So I suspect that was just latent carbonation.
From the picture, it looks like you've just got a pint of orange juice.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's like no bubbles at all. It's super hazy, dark, but it does have that yellowy orange look.
I like how he's secretly having a week off, isn't he? He's just poured orange juice into
a
pint glass.
How dare you? Just tanked.
I immediately see what they mean about the malts balancing the hops. You get this nice malt forward, not super biscuity malts, but a little bit of sweetness and a bit of that thickness that a more malty taste gives you, and then it is offset almost immediately by, again, like a light passion fruit, maybe some stone fruit there. Yeah, it's just mostly just a really smooth. There's something else there happening. I can't quite place what that taste is. I'm pulling a Ben. But the other thing is, the one thing it does happen is the taste doesn't linger that long, but it does leave the mouth dry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which loyal listeners will know that's not my most favorite combination of when taste fades and mouth dry, because then I feel like I'm forced to have more versus seeking to have more.
Yeah.
But it's quite tasty.
Man, that was just like a proper like juice.
It's quite tasty. It's just really quick, and I think probably it's just because it's 4.4%, so there's just not enough oomph of what's going on to linger. It's very drinkable. The lack of carbonation makes it a little more dangerous because, again, the taste is quite quick, and it's sort of leaves the mouth a little dry. It's just like, wow, one, I can take huge sips, no problem, no bubbles. Two, I'm going to absent-mindedly look for it. And three, that absent-mindedness is compounded by the fact that it's such a light taste that I just forget it's beer.
That's fine. That's always good.
Yeah, so what it means is I might have to go downstairs and grab the third beer.
I always bring a third just in case. No.
Yeah, I have got a third. It was sat here.
Let's do it.
But basically, we've got an hour basically to record whatever we're going to talk about. So if we just open another beer now, talk about those for half an hour, then open another beer and talk about those for half an hour. For Go video games.
We're going to go on for 6 hours.
Yeah, we probably. We
15
could
hours.
easily do that.
Oh, did you know this is our
24-hour
charity
beer
time?
stream.
We're doing a 24-hour marathon.
I'd die. I think I'd die.
I
You'd
don't think
have
I've quite got enough
send
beer for that.
Paramedics. Oh, there's always enough beer.
Maybe not for
definitely don't have
24
enough
hours constantly.
Well, you'd have to pace yourself, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd have
I've
to have
got enough-
like
I've got
beer
enough
every
booze.
like 4 hours, you know?
I got a couple of bottles of wine and some rum in the
No,
house that I could.
you'd be gone after like 2 hours. You need like
let's-
2% table beer. Then you could do it.
So,
Yeah. So-
shall we move on to a topic segment topic, a top mint, a segit tick?
What are those?
Segic or Topman.
I think seg
Topment.
tick.
I like Topment.
No, I guess it doesn't make sense because the topic. Yeah, I guess it's seg pick or segic. Segic just sounds weird. I feel like there should be an extra
does.
vowel.
Let us move on.
Sounds like
to
you're
a
getting
segment. Yes,
motion
exactly.
sickness on a
You're getting
Segway.
bit, yeah. Let's
Topment.
talk
It sounds
about
like torment.
Lucy first. Lucy.
Yeah.
About
When it comes to
Lucy
you.
or Lucy's topic? Or is
Lucy's
this topic
topic.
Lucy?
Shall I just air all my problems or not?
Do it.
Yeah. This is not a political podcast. It's not
my-
like a therapy podcast.
Yes. My problem is that there's never enough beer in my house, but and then we could go into the depths of alcoholism. But anyway,
We're already in the
games.
depths of alcohol.
That's true. That's true. Games, video games. I played a really, really, really interesting game. I don't know if it's ever been tried before and what it's trying to do. It's called Tick Tock, A Tale of Two. Gosh, what's the subtitle?
Cities?
That would sound correct, but I don't think it's that. It's Tick Tock. I should have been more correct. Tick Tock, A Tale of Two.
Oh.
And it's developed by Other Tales Interactive. I always get those two confused. But yeah, Tick Tock, A Tale of Two, where it's basically a co-op game in not a... I'd call it like an even asymmetrical co-op game, where you are playing different instances of the same game. You're not exactly on the same screen, doing the same things. It's basically a puzzle game where you can play either. I think it's coming to Switch, but it's on PC and iOS. I imagine Android at this point. So the whole structure of the game, in terms of its mechanics, is that someone is player one and the other player is player two, and what is seen on player one's screen is similar but different to what's seen on player two's screen. And in order to progress the story, the game, you have to rely on each other. So what player one is seeing, just a quick example. Okay, you're seeing a safe on player one screen, and in player two screen they have the code for the safe.
Yeah.
That's not going to appear on either or vice versa.
So,
And the same for player two. Yeah,
so it's like keep talking until nobody explodes and they like asymmetric player.
absolutely perfect example. The thing with I believe what's it called? Talking and Nobody Explodes. What's the full title of that?
Keep talking.
Keep talking and Nobody Explodes, which seems a really cool concept. But I was like that game. But anyway, you do not have to be in, like, you don't have to be on the same network. You don't. You don't have to be on the same client or anything. You can do it completely disparate to each other. You don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi or LAN connection. You can literally be across the country and do it that way.
Is it voice based?
Well, preferably. I played it with my sister who was in the same room as me, so it was like basically local co-op. But the devs do encourage Discord if you're not in the same room.
That's what I was wondering about, like how you. So in that sense, it doesn't rely on networks because it has no network functionality in that sense. You're just both talking about things. Then that's the same thing with Keep Talking, right? Which is literally print out a manual or have a PDF on
That's
an
true,
iPad.
yeah.
and then the game is only running on one screen, and it's like extrapolating that move of we can, if it's an asynchronous game in the sense of content, we don't actually need to sync between the two. That's a really neat like progression of this idea. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and that also has its like downsides, because it's also a case of like there's no replayability to it, because it's like everything has the same solutions to every puzzle. It's not like it's going to be randomized every time because you're on the same network. That's what I was
going to say. It's not. It must be sort of set levels.
Yes,
so you
absolutely.
and your sister both went and started on level 1, then went to play level 2, level 3, level 4, or however they determine that. It's not kind of, I am hooking up with somebody else and we're both having the same generated puzzle put in front of us.
No, absolutely. And I think there's also a downside in that there's like not a replayability. I mean, you could forget the puzzles and, come back to it a few years later, or you could play for another person and this and that and guide them through it, but it does have that downside. But on the upside, it's like, because I had a Steam key, I also had like an iOS test build. The iOS test build just wasn't working for me. I can't say that for the full build. I believe it's working. They've patched it, etc., etc. But it's like, okay, I need 2 computers. My sister doesn't have Steam.
Right. Yep.
It's like, I'll just put one computer that I have in offline mode, and she can play on one computer and I can play on the other, and it's like, it still works because you're always starting from the same point. It's like, who's player 1, who's player 2, it'll ask at the start of the game, and you can play that. So it's very accessible in that way. And as I say, you can play it on iOS, I believe Android coming to Switch.
So it clearly has crossplay because it's like a static tower.
Yeah, you cannot progress unless the other player is involved, and it's like, as I say, like what's on one screen, what's on the other. But carry on, Ben.
Because you could,
play by yourself.
You could play by yourself.
If you knew all the,
you could buy it twice. Buy it on Steam and buy it on your phone, and be player 1 on your computer and be player 2 on your phone.
That's what I meant by play.
If you wanted to have no fun at all, then you could do that for sure.
Or just 2 computers, one in offline mode.
Yeah, you could do that, but I think why? Why is the question? Why would you want to do that? Maybe Steam achievements? Who knows? But anyway, I think there was a deal running, whereas if you had it on Steam, I think you could gift another code to somebody else. Nice. I think it requires 2 people to have the game, which is here and there. Like you hear a lot of Nintendo like doing things like, if someone has the game, you can just hop right in from a like wireless connection. So maybe that's
way out was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I was never going to buy that game because it's crap. But anyway,
is it?
The story is god awful. The gameplay is good and it's impressive, but that story, it's like if everyone just it's like if I watched like Godfellas and Scarface and The Godfather, and I put into a randomly generated Google machine and just like come up with a story, it'd spout that out, but worse.
You just added the word prison or whatever
and had bad New York accents.
Are they Italian?
Wow.
Awful.
In the sense that they're New York Italian, I assume.
Well, are they New York Italian? Or?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just bad.
Hey, walking here.
Yeah, it's just awful. It's an awful game. It's like, I don't want to get too much into it, but where Joseph Fares was coming off from, like Brothers, and what an emotional story that was. This couldn't be any more in the opposite direction in terms of story.
Brothers wasn't that as successful as we wanted it. Clearly, it wasn't that the co-op gameplay was weird and a novel concept. It was that we've spent too much time on the story.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Tick Tock.
Okay, so I'm about to re-ask you what it was called. But Tick Tock: A Tale of Two, right?
Yeah. That's it. I've gone over the mechanics of the game. I just think the puzzles were fun. The puzzles were fun up to a point. I think it has a lot of repetition in its puzzles because you're going through basically 3 different spaces, and some of those spaces repeat puzzles, and some of the puzzles go on for too long.
That's unfortunate, especially given that it's a static game.
Yeah, and obviously in the scope of what they're trying to do, I think maybe they could have done a bit more because, as you say, it's not like they have any like persistent online connectivity, like kind of things. They could have maybe spent some more time in diversifying the puzzles and.
How much was it? Is it?
I think it's like $4.99 or something like that.
It's not that on Android.
Oh, what is it on Android?
It's $2.99 on Android.
Yeah, it's a low barrier to entry. I think on Steam it might be like $4.99 or something like that. Obviously, there's going to be some discrepancy in, between the platforms. Yeah, but yeah, it's as a one and done like kind of thing. It does interesting things with its mechanics, and I appreciate for that. In terms of the puzzles, as I say, they can get a bit long in the tooth. Not quite. Yeah, there's not enough. Variety in the puzzles, but I think there was a brilliant thing at the end which made me appreciate the game very much so. I will not spoil it, but it's quite funny what it says. But in terms of, oh, you played this game. Cool.
It's like, thanks for playing our game, dickhead.
It's pretty much along those lines, but it's got a nice, like, it's got a kind of quite nebulous, like kind of ominous story to it as well, which is cool. And like whoever you're playing with, you can piece that together because, like, obviously one part of the story is for somebody and the other part is for somebody else. So, as I say, you need that communication not just for the puzzles but also for the story overall.
Right.
So that's good.
Did you say the characters were father and son?
I think it's sister and another sister, so it's quite relevant that I played it with my sister. But yeah, it takes about 90 minutes to complete. As they say, it took me and my sister about 2 hours 20 minutes. I think people who are saying like it took 90 minutes, they did not factor in the time it takes when you're arguing with whoever you're playing.
That sounds
they did not factor I think it's a test of, basically, if you're in a relationship, you're like, I don't know if this is working. Play this game, and then you'll know. You'll know whether to ditch that person, right?
So don't play with your wife.
It's like Overcooked, but less stressful. It's more, we're going to do this over a course of time and really figure out what's wrong with each other. Whereas Overcooked is like, it's 15 minutes of stress and I hate you. Just go again, or just stop. This is like... anyone who is questioning their relationship, just play this. Then you'll know.
I was going to say maybe this is a thing, so I might go to Canada for a couple of weeks at Easter. Like, maybe it's a thing we could do over Discord, Ben. Seeing as you haven't played it. Yeah. And it's
I might have another code for Steam, which the developers were very gracious of giving me. So, yeah, if you two can sync up and play, that might be...
It'd be interesting. Yeah.
Is it something that you need to play in synchronization with each other? Could it be that?
I guess you could.
Is it that there's like you said that one of the puzzles, for example, was a safe and a code, and the safe's on one screen and the code is on another. Yeah. Could Aadil open it up, find the code, and just message it to me, and then in my own time I can go on and then input that code to open the safe to then move on?
Absolutely, I think safe for
be like
one
totally
puzzle,
asynchronous.
Yeah, I'd say safe for one puzzle, which would probably cause a bit of frustration if it was like because it is very back and forth with one puzzle. But I absolutely think you could with doing that. So it's literally I'm trying to figure this out. We're communicating. Oh, you figured that out? Okay, then I'll send you over the solution, and the other player inputs the solution, and then that's that puzzle solved. Not to distill it down to a very simplistic kind of thing, but yes, you absolutely could. I think it's only one puzzle in the entire game where you get pretty frustrated with that because it is very back and forth. But yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
Good. That does sound really interesting. You say about whether anyone's kind of done that as a mechanic before, and kind of off the top of my head, I can't think of anything like that. I mean, you first mentioned Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, and I think that game was kind of sort of first in that space, really, to kind of do what it was doing. We may have had. It's on sale
on Steam at the moment, not Steam, Switch at the moment. Okay. So, yeah.
I know we may have had previous games which have kind of elicited a little bit of cooperation in the same kind of regard, but not for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I like these innovations of like, how do we, so this like not straightforward LAN bullshit co-op, but like, what is it? What if the co-op had to be dynamic because literally you have different things in front of you?
Yeah.
That's super interesting to me because I think that's a good progression of like, what does it mean to actually play with other people? Well, that means to other people. So there's I can't remember the name of it. There's this game where you're like an assassin, and it's a 2-player co-op, and there's an assassin and a hacker character. And the hacker character, when you're running the game,
not familiar with that one.
I'll try and remember what it is. But when you're playing the game as the hacker, you get access to like the building security cameras and stuff, and over voice you're telling this person like, stop, hold on, there's someone coming in the hallway, etc. And then so you're basically driving the overall mission by saying, go here first, go here first, go here first.
That wasn't Republic, was it? Were you controlling both the camera and the person? I can't remember.
No, I can't remember. Republic was slightly different, but maybe I'm misremembering the difference.
I think you might have. I can't remember. I think you might have been controlling both of them in that game.
Yeah, Republic is. It's similar, like idea-wise.
Yeah,
it's a stealth game where you have access, but like this game that I can't remember what it's called, and I'll try and remember so we can tweet about it or something later. The whole point is it's an asynchronous co-op, and
that sounds interesting.
Fundamentally have different things, and the only reason I've never played it is because like I'd have to find someone who was available at the right time and play and blah blah blah, and I barely play games as it is.
And it rings a bell. That's what's frustrating about it. So I've probably heard the game. Just don't remember.
More than likely.
Yeah. I don't have any other games to talk about. I think Baba Is You is what's on my mind, but I'm too stupid.
It's called Clandestine.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's alright. Baba Is You. I think if Aadil picks it up and he plays it, I think we'll talk about it then. It's still stumping me. Brilliant. So we'll talk about it then. Just quickly, I bought a game on Steam called Engare, Engare. It's basically a simulation for, those kind of drawing stencil things. What are they called? Oh, God. Yeah.
Drawing stencil.
Yeah, but those like spirally drawings.
Right.
Those drawing machines.
Sketch.
I think it's spirographs. Yeah.
Spirographs.
They just make pretty pictures.
Like you put your pencil
in a little hole, and it.
Yeah. Those things. I bought a game which is half tool of a spirograph and half puzzle game. So. That's cool.
I don't even understand how that works, but I know.
Check it out. It was on sale on Steam. I think it's Engare. I think
I assume it's Middle Eastern because of that, but it's not probably.
Yeah, I think it's made by Middle Eastern developers, which is cool.
Yeah, you're right. It has Arabic in its name.
Yeah,
it's Iranian.
Oh, okay. Thank you. But it's cool. It was on sale. It was on my wish list for ages. It was on sale, and it's like
interesting. Sorry, I'm just reading the thing. It's geometric imagination, and it's based on Arabic art and architecture.
Yeah, nice. It's quite short. The story mode, which is basically you have you have the pencil. It's like, where do you want it to draw? Where do you want it to rotate? So you can mimic basically. this level wants you to draw a straight line or a curve or this and that. So you need to find where it's going to put where it's going to do the trajectory, and it's like, okay, pinpoint there. So it's very simple, but I think the tool is pretty cool. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to make all these like spirographs, and
so it's like a motion
export them
physics based, like drawing projection tool.
Yeah, I think it's just mainly a tool they put in a story mode, like
Cool.
But it's I just
Cool tool.
exported those
Cool, yeah.
like spirographs and just like I coloured them in paint because you can export them, and I was like, yeah, this
cool.
is therapeutic.
That's
Cool.
very good. Yeah.
That's
Nice.
really
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah,
It's all about
just
some
shout out to
colouring
them.
when you want
Yeah,
to chill out.
and
fucking
Aadil, you're
wind
on the
down.
Steam page. I just want to shout out the developer. I think his surname's Barani or
Madi Barami, yeah.
yeah. That's it.
Self-published, self-developed, it looks like.
Yeah, I've talked too much. You have
Nice.
not talked.
Well, I am going to talk because I'm ready for another beer, so I'm going to open one up. Loka Poly have released a load of new beers in
They're so
new,
good!
lovely can art. This beer is it's lovely can art, but the writing is so small. This is Patternist. It's an IPA. It is 6.6%. It has Eldorado and Simcoe in it. 440ml can. That is it. Apart from Loka Poly's address, doesn't tell me kind of anything else. No malts
They're in.
yeasts.
Is it not Wales? Is it? Where are they based?
Yeah, they are. No, they are Welsh, right?
Are they in Welsh?
I'm sure they're Welsh.
Yeah.
But they're in Mould, Flintshire, CH7. Don't know where CH is.
Cardiff.
No, don't think so.
Crown
Flintshire.
Willie or whatever. One of those weird Welsh
Crown
names.
Willie. Oh, that excellent county or county town, however they decide their postcode names. Yes, so I'm cracking into this Patternist. Yeah, Patternist. Lucy, what do you drink?
I'm going to drink a beer from Dig Brew Co. So
Nice.
representing the Brummies. It's called Durr. It's Durr.
Yeah, Durr.
Durr. It's a vanilla and cocoa nib stout. It's 6.8%. Let's have a look at this. Any flavour text. Just says stout with milk sugar added to the whirlpool, conditioned over organic vanilla pods, and lightly roasted cocoa nibs. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got lactose, vanilla, cocoa nibs, hops. Yeah, it's one I'd never seen before, so... They're into their canning game now, which is great because... Ben, you had the Dagger not too long ago. Like, you enjoyed that, so yeah, let's see what this is like.
Nice. It's not something you've encountered whilst heading to their
No,
tap
not at
room.
all. They're coming out with new ones pretty frequently, by the looks of it.
Nice.
Good. Aadil, how about you?
I am drinking the Alligator Tugboat from Portugal,
I had
Nice.
that a couple of weeks ago, maybe last
which
week.
has an excellent gold toothy shiny can.
Really good.
Simcoe IPA. Tasting notes, according to them, are resinous, citrus, and dank. The hops just Simcoe, and the Alligator Tugboat is a type of amphibious steam-powered logging boat invented in 1878 in the town of Simcoe, Ontario. The label is by the legendary Sweet Tooth. I didn't realize that Alligator Tugboat was a thing
you're
from my
Canadian.
home country.
No.
You're Canadian. How did you not know about your history?
So
It's like, how did we not know
here's a
about,
question
like,
for you, Lucy.
17th
As
century?
a person from the UK, can you name all of the boats that were made, invented, founded, built? in the
Absolutely.
UK?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The raft.
So next episode will be
Raft.
Lucy's boat episode. Raft.
A skiff.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that I didn't read that when I purchased it, so that's interesting. Because I really like the name and like the can
something
art.
made in Simcoe, Ontario, and they've
There's a place called
run with it.
Simcoe in Ontario.
Yeah, it's where the fucking Alligator Tugboat was invented.
Whoa.
Did you not listen to me?
We're going there. Yeah, because I was like, wow, okay, we're going
That's
there.
it. They can
Even more of a
any-
reason to just live in Canada.
Yeah, any beer brewed in Simcoe can only include Simcoe hops, obviously, as well. That's just the way things work, isn't it? So,
Makes sense.
yes. So, the Patternist from Loka Poly. It's got a nice tropical fruity nose. Mix of sort of flavours. Maybe a little bit of mango. It's very sort of... It's that tropical kind of nose, but a little bit of sweetness, maybe. Like, you know, like as we've been talking about, kind of like a mango a lot in beers sort of recently. It kind of just has that little bit extra, doesn't it? That little bit of sweetness kind of associated with it. In the flavour, though, it's a world of difference from the Yonder Pale Ale.
Yeah. Lots of flavour.
Those tropical a big flavour, and those kind of mango, maybe kind of more like honeydew melon, something like that. Something that's a little bit kind of duller, a little bit that just pulls that sweetness back a little bit, maybe, and a nice bitterness that pushes through on this as well. Kind of almost straight away, as soon as those fruit flavours come in, and you know that kind of maybe that little bit of melon is just there. That bitterness comes in, and then it's not huge, but it's nice, and it just backs up that tropical fruit flavour really well. Very, very easy. I don't think... Did I tell you what the percentage was? 6.6.
Okay.
So, I'm not getting any of that on the actual beer itself. It's got that very, very light carbonation with it as well, which actually pairs quite nicely with the bitterness to kind of let that maybe bitterness carry on a little bit longer than maybe it would have done. I mean, the whole flavour just continues and continues and continues.
Yeah.
It's really good. It just stays with you. It is dry, but...
Oh, is it dry? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. But that dryness with that flavour continuing on works very well. You know, as you were saying, Aadil, with your first beer, having to reach for it because it's dry and the flavour's gone. With this, I've still got that flavour is still there, but I want it. I want to go back to pick this glass up and have some more. Just a well balanced, very easy to drink IPA. Really nice.
Yeah, because I went to a tap takeover which had a Loka Poly. I think it was their Augment can launch. That may well have been part of that.
Yes, I think these new cans are that Augment, I think is the name for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I tried the Patternist, but the ones that I did try, I just associated them with being very juicy, very very day-ish almost. So it just sounds like very juicy, like fruit-forward beers. I associate them with like Daya and like Whiplash and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like even that like kind of powdery kind of smoothness to them. So they were really nice. I think they're really, really good brew.
Completely, and it's
a lot of
interesting,
people
isn't
pay
it?
attention to them.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting that we're getting breweries who are, you know, becoming known for not a certain style, but a certain take, and kind of all of their beers have their kind of like their trademark. And you were saying like Whiplash Daya, maybe Loka Poly now are coming through as
Verdant
very
as well,
and Verdant as well, like super fruit heavy, fruit forward kind of beers, really showcasing what they can do with those. Whereas you look at kind of like the other breweries that we know that, you know, we talk about Cloudwater, we talk about Dig, other breweries where you can kind of you crack a can and you know that it is from those breweries, because they have their trademark sort of flavors and smells and viscosities, everything kind of associated with what they do and their combination of how they brew their beers. You know, Loka Poly have released these new cans. From remembering their previous beers, I don't think this is doing anything kind of more than their previous beers.
Well, okay.
I think it's a good beer. It's a great beer, but you know, they've obviously had kind of like a rebrand for some things. I think previously their previous beers were doing this as well. They were kind of fruit forward, really showcasing certain
They've
flavors.
been around for a little while. I think it's just nowadays they're like yeah, you need to pay attention. But yeah, definitely. They've not been doing too much different, but what they did originally was very good. So yeah.
Yeah.
I was just surprised when you said dry, because it's like always attribute those beers with like very juicy. So
Yeah. And maybe that is yeah, obviously you've had a few more of the Old Went series when you went to the launch Tap Takeover event. Were any of those? Yeah, you may not remember from that long ago. Now it was a few weeks, wasn't it? So.
I did think they were quite, as you say, like similar. Like even the ones that I was drinking there that day, they were quite similar to each other. It's just that they all tasted good. So it's like, all right, they're not quite, doing different things, but they're all maybe doing the same thing. But that one thing is very good. I get what you're saying with that.
Good. How's your beer, Lucy?
Yeah, it's quite light. Even for what was it, 6.8%? So it's a stout, and you'd think, okay, 6.8%, that's substantial enough, but it's really quite light. It tastes almost like a porter in that sense. Like it's quite thin. I mean, the first sip is quite thin, and then you get a bit more heaviness when you start to inhale that sugar and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's not overbearingly sugary. It's got a fair bit of chocolate. I wouldn't say it has much coffee, maybe a little tinge of coffee. Let me see if there's anything else going on with it. It says it's got vanilla in it, so maybe that's why. Maybe the vanilla is tempering that like kind of chocolate and coffee, and it's like just adding to the sweetness. But it's not overwhelmingly sweet, so I like that. But at the same time, it's slightly more thin than I'd expect or want. I think I'm maybe drinking it a few percentages, not percentages, centigrees over than I'd probably like. It's probably a bit warmed up a bit, but pitch black. It didn't really have any head to it when it poured. It didn't have that nice creamy head to it. I did have like a Imperial Stout today. It was at 9.6, and it was just like bang on from like Northern Monk. But yeah, it's. I'll probably come back with my thoughts of this right at the end of the podcast. I'm still just getting to it, but yeah, initial thoughts. It's a bit thinner than I'd like. It's still hitting on some of those flavors.
Nice.
Right.
Not too sweet, which I appreciate.
Good.
Yeah, I do. You, sir. Another orange juice.
Another orange juice.
Yeah, so it's a little more bubbly. It's probably sat for longer than you initially saw the other one. But you can still see a little bit of head. It's slightly lighter, more translucent, as I'm sure you can see from the light coming through it. It's less obviously orange juice. Right off the top, you get that dankness of the Simcoe hops on the nose. You're like, oh yeah, this is a dank beer, but there's this like very sweet tropical fruit undertone there as well, which sort of helps balance that nose. Oh, I like that beer.
I love these moments of silence.
Yeah.
So I mean, I am.
It's like ASMR, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of Simcoe hops. I like danky beers. To be honest, the nose sort of telegraphed what was going to happen, but to a lesser degree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that they dry hopped it a couple of times, I think. Or was that the other one?
Double, triple.
Oh, I didn't actually say. I think it's probably been dry hopped with Simcoe as well as hopped with Simcoe, just because there's so much dank on the nose and it's a little more understated on the taste. But it's it's dank. It's the bitterness kicks in halfway through, but there's this like it's the undertone of just like tropical-ish, but sweetness, kind of like this is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever had overripe mangoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They actually make me sick.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Yeah. It's like can you eat
So
Like before
I was about
ripe
to say
mangoes?
sickly
Yeah.
sweet, but I mean that in the overripe mango sense. But
Yeah.
take the strength of that
Right.
and drop it to a fifth, and it's just like that, like
Right.
overripe
Okay.
sweetness is sitting underneath the dankness. Well,
Yeah.
normally that overripeness would be so overpowering,
Yeah.
but it's like that, like very specific notion of sweet that's sort of sitting there and helping push back against the dankness, but the dankness of the Simcoe is still very much there.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And so it's a really excellent balance. Got To be honest, it kind of fades in uniform. Maybe a slight bitterness, just because I think I've had enough IPA that my ambient taste can't tell the difference. So I suspect that, but doesn't leave me dry, doesn't leave me wet. It's just, so this is the inverse of the last one, where it's like, oh, I really liked that interaction of that. What was that sweetness and dankness doing? I think I'll try it again. But there's nothing making me reach for the glass other than I want to taste it.
Yeah.
It's really great, and it's one of those things where I really like when the nose does something different from the taste, but it's like a matter of degrees, not like two different paths.
Not like massive disparity between the two.
Yeah, and so this feels like the nose makes you think, oh god, this is gonna be super dank, and then the taste is like, this is dank, but there's something else going on.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice push and pull of dealing with you can do two different things, but still making it clear that this is the same thing. Yeah, it's a really,
like
really excellent beer.
People don't appreciate like how much of taste is smell and how much of taste is smell in person. It's like, yeah. So when you get like, oh, beers, it's like, hold on, what is this doing? Like, and it's like, oh, you're doing that, but also something else, or you're doing something completely different. So yeah, it keeps you
I
guessing.
would say there's a slight pininess to the bitterness that sort of as things start to fade. I kind of get a hint of. Just on this last sip, I'm like, oh well, it's very slight. I think it's just mostly like there's a moment where, as things are fading, there's a flash of a specific type of bitterness, which I'm going to say is a little piney.
Yeah, piney.
But mostly it's all it's a very fluid taste curve. Like it's very much. I mean, does this reflect what you sort of tasted before, Lucy, when you had it? Or do you? I mean, it's cool if you don't remember.
No. I know, remember I liked it. I didn't quite get that like mango kind of thing that you said, which I think is a perfect analogy because I knew exactly what you're on about. I'll get up on tap, so by the time we finish this episode, I'll let you know how I thought of it. But I did enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, Lucy, you may have time to have a look on Untap because you might zone out a little bit.
No. I'm actually really interested in this game. It's like it's nice when a game comes out and it's just good and people like it, and it's like despite okay, forget you two cynics, but like what I've seen critically, people really like it, and it's like
they do. It's doing well. I think it's doing well.
The kind of game that it is, so much could go wrong, and yet so many things went right. So I'm really interested.
Completely. So for those of you who might not have figured out what this game is, it is of course
The Division 2.
Yes.
I don't know why I said it like that. That's just how I kind of feel about it, really.
And it's also because I'm completely ignorant about what this game is and what it's trying to do, why I'm interested in someone explaining ABC 1, 2, 3, what it is for me.
So I think from what I've seen, the biggest gripe is narrative, and no one has much to say about the game.
Shall we go into that?
I said this purposely as these are the two main factors: gameplay versus narrative. And I think, Ben, why don't you pick a path and we'll go down that. I'm happy with starting strong, ending weak, vice versa.
I think I mean I don't really have much to say about the gameplay. I like the gameplay. I'm enjoying the gameplay. I like the shooting mechanics. I like the different skills. I like kind of like moving through the world, engaging with enemies and exploring different places. The gameplay has me going back to it. It's very satisfying.
Yeah,
good gameplay loop.
Yeah, the game. Yeah, exactly. Like the loot that idea, I'm spending a little bit longer in the menus, determining different kind of equipments over, considering different equipments and stuff, slightly more than I'd want to be. But,
So can you elaborate on, do you mean just like, I have too much gear and I don't quite know what a good balance is?
No. I think it's more, I know the play style that I want to go for. I know the weapons that I like. So, it's very much like an MMO. You have a certain build for a certain kind of class, even though you don't have classes.
Yeah.
I run with a rifle and a shotgun or a submachine gun, dependent on kind of whether I'm playing with friends or playing by myself.
Sorry, Ben, did you choose this at like your character creation?
No, not at all. It's all very
whatever
open.
gear you equip.
Yes.
When you're out combat.
Okay, that's cool. I like that kind of fluidity.
very much.
Yeah.
But the gear then gives you different, or it enhances different attributes. So you can find certain gear has a manufacturer. So there are certain brands of gear, and some gear will be give you bonuses to like critical hits, so they'll be crit heavy. Some gear will give you bonuses to armor. Some gear will give you bonuses to health. Some gear will give you bonuses to other weapons, and
or like some machine gun damage.
Exactly. Yes.
It's like American capitalism for you.
Fuck yes. But you build your gear around kind of your play style.
That's good. That's cool.
Yeah, it is good. It's a very, very good way of snaring you into that looter shooter loop.
Yeah.
You're constantly looking for a replacement for your gloves, because currently the only gloves you have give you like sniper rifle damage, and you don't have a sniper rifle, so you want another set of gloves.
But also, like, as you level up,
at the same time.
as you level up, you might have the right sniper rifle damage boost, but you're getting gloves that have double the armor, and so like you need to swap out, and so
that sucks. I was like, that's good. That's good.
And then I would add a second challenge, which is what I'm actually looking forward to, which is you can have different loadouts to fast equip, which will be more important later, I think, in the game.
Yeah,
I've
not.
Yeah, but I think that then you're having to search for gear for both loadouts, and that's how I think the end game's gonna take a while for people to settle, because you'll want to have the flexibility of like Aadil does pistol, rifle or assault rifle, and then marksman rifle, and Ben does. So I'm like the long range with a bit of medium range just in case, and Ben's the medium range with a bit of medium short, and obviously when we're playing together that works really well. But if like I'm playing with someone else, I might need to swap roles, and so that's where like collecting other sets of gear will come in.
This is where I like dropped out of like Call of Duty. It's like before, even before it went like hero shooter kind of thing. It's like like Black Ops, where you say Ben is like pinnacle of the franchise, even though you like the previous game. But it's like, okay, I'm gonna choose this weapon. I can choose to have a sub weapon. I can choose this. Okay, for me to get more powerful, let me grind and do this, and then I'll unlock attachments like scopes and this and that for that weapon. If I choose to put them on, I will. And it's like, that's what I just miss about games sometimes. It's like everything seems to be like class-based. This doesn't sound exactly the same, but it seems like they're not doing it
flexible, but it's still trying to trap you in gear.
Exactly.
Driving,
to get you into that kind of gameplay loop and that kind of looter shooter, games as a service, looter shooter kind of thing. It's like, okay, we're going to drip feed you this. It may not be what you want, but there's always a carrot dangling in front of you.
I mean, Lucy, we were talking earlier about like battle passes and things, and I said at one point in time I was playing World of Warcraft and I was paying monthly for a game as a subscription, and then buying every expansion that came out. So I'm constantly paying out for a game. Okay, The Division gives me the same sort of feel that something like World of Warcraft kind of gives me. It has that constant, like, it is that perpetual, live service kind of system.
It's the persistent and like grindy itch that it is trying to solve, but in a less structured and less monetized so far.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me because I've never been in a games of service kind of mind space. It's like I like games that are one and done. I appreciate people who can just play a game, and I understand why they want that content. It's just when it just implementation seems a bit skeevy to me sometimes, especially in a game that launches as a games of service. It's not like World of Warcraft like 15 years ago, where it's like kind of not sure about this, and then they build upon it. It's like games are specifically targeted as that, and they know the roadmap 20 years.
Well,
years,
World of Warcraft, that game launched strong.
You know,
I
remember that.
As an MMO, that was a fucking strong launch.
But they could never imagine that they'd be here today. Whereas every company now want to be where World of Warcraft is.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
I don't think any MMO will do what it did.
It's just a bit.
That is the outlier massively.
I think it showed that we could have this style of game, and so the reason why it'll never happen again is because we have different subgenres of persistent sort of world co-op, but not quite co-op games. The Division wouldn't exist, let alone Division 2, without the massive success of MMOs, and World of Warcraft is the one that got it to the masses, right?
Absolutely, but they're doing it on a completely different mindset. It's like, we're not doing this because I can't even say this, but it's like they're not doing it. I'd say it's more from we have put out a roadmap for like the next 5 years. When you say like Destiny, and that launched in like 2014, and like we have 10 years worth of. We want this to make a 10-year project. It just seems, which is still like, you know, Destiny in terms of like the Lutus. I always call it like Schluter because that's what Johnny Moss said. Schluter, and it's like
Schluter's great. I love it.
Yeah, and it's like that was still early in terms of consoles. It's like nowadays when I see a Schluter come around, I just think it's just like.
Sorry, I had a bit of crap in my throat.
Yes, you want to build for the future, but I just see it as you're making the base game in a way where it's just like, okay, we're going to make sure that there's always a carrot, there's never an end point. And it's like, that's what...
So, I mean, my big problem...
Whereas 20 years ago, they wouldn't have been dangling that carrot. That carrot wouldn't be the first and foremost thing. It's like, we can do this now.
Completely. But... I think for tonight...
we will not get
Aadil, why don't you talk about kind of the things that you're enjoying about the Division 2? Because we're going to be playing this for a while, so we're going to return to discuss it, and maybe the things that we're not quite getting on with. I know you alluded to it at the start about politics and things. Maybe we'll talk about that
next week.
We'll talk about the positives.
Because that's a big one. Yeah,
I was gonna say the non-politics side we can also leave alone. But what Lucy was alluding to with respect to narrative is a thing that I think, like, the carrot is no longer the story is a thing that's worth talking about.
That's
and
true.
I'm happy to put that on hold as well. I just wanted to bring that up.
That's a massive topic.
I tell you what,
absolutely, and you're right too.
I'll tell you what. You got 5 minutes. Talk about what you want.
Okay, I'm going to talk about what the heck logic is, and I'm going to read chapter 4.
We're here.
Why I thought this was a good segue to sort of also why some of the reviews are also sort of lambasting it is the fact that Lucy is exactly right. Like right now, the carrot is just the gear, and I think one of the reasons why World of Warcraft was so successful was they saw things like Final Fantasy XI, which had a huge plot base, and they gave you a plot, and that helped drive the less hardcore players through to the end game, which by the time you get to the end game, you might be trapped in the loop, but you might not immediately think of the loop as something you want to be trapped in. And now these games don't put as much emphasis on capturing you with the story. They're like, well, you're just going to be caught in the loop, so we'll only worry about the loop. And it's like, well, to be honest, no. Like,
and just to...
Like, I recognize that I might get caught in your loop, but you have to earn that catching. And I think that's where, I mean, I'm already behind where you and Adam and others are in the Division 2. But I'm finding this story way less enthralling or interesting than Division 1. Even from the get-go. The get-go like intro cinematic was like, this seems like the bare minimum of like the most straightforward explanation of why we're in DC versus New York. And it's just like, what if that thing that was like super interesting in Division 1 because it was localized to New York, so you like being in New York was a terrible thing, and you were going in because this was the zone of death. What if that just magically spread across the country? Then everyone would be in trouble.
Yeah, and
like, go fuck yourself. Like, they didn't even bother saying like explicitly, and then they targeted DC, which would be a natural sequel move. People might gripe about, but they're kind of like, the Green Death sort of went everywhere, so all chaos. And this is one of the chaos points, and you're like, this is dumb. I'm sorry, this is not the way you start a game.
Interject where it's like, any video games, they have the basic mechanics put down first of all, and then they build the art and stuff like that, and then the story is pretty much superfluous to a lot of games, which is unfortunate. But
I actually think that's one of the advantages of the straightforwardness of the Division 2 is I kind of forget when I'm playing it that I hate the story.
Yeah, because the gameplay, and a lot of people say, like, in terms of whether it's political or not political, they're like, it's the Division, the gameplay loop's fun, who the hell cares about the story?
Well,
but
and it's clear that
I think when you're having a second stab at it, because I actually found the first Division story like kind of interesting.
I really loved it.
Yeah.
So
and I never played that game. I was like, that's actually kind of interesting.
So one of the things I really liked about Division 1 was going around and collecting the cell phones to hear the calls.
Okay.
It was all like random people in the city being like panicking about this green death happening. Sometimes it was like government officials, sometimes it was regular people. The echoes and stuff that you could collect would give you snapshots to specific moments in the ensuing chaos from the moment, and you like got a sense of the event that happened before you got there. It really grounded like the history of that.
Yeah,
and now I'm picking up these cell phones, and even when I listen to them, they're kind of just like random talking, and except for the one at the White House, which was like talking about the chain of command and how that got fucked royally, none of these phone conversations are interesting at all. It's just like, this happened in the past. Someone had this conversation. Like some like the narrative sense seems to have been lost there in a way that even like the boring conversations in Division 1 I found interesting, and I'm finding none of these interesting.
And that's the shame, because like even when it's like something that's so political, obviously, as the Division set in Washington and stuff like that, even if you don't want to go down that road, I think it's quite a disservice to your game to saying like, oh, actually, like as you said, Aadil, you're not finding any narrative, not even looking for like anything political, just any narrative, just about like society, humans, just like like humans, something. And
what's being human?
Yeah, and it's quite frustrating that they've had a chance at a sequel and they've not been able to. Like,
well, they've gone backwards rather than forwards, I guess is what.
Yeah, which is a shame, and I don't know if that's as I said, we'll get into this next week, but I don't know if that's a factor of maybe they just didn't want to say anything at all, despite where it's set and stuff like that, so they've just completely withdrawn on themselves. But it's like you have to have some story, and it deserves some story. It's like I think the easiest analogy is like Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I didn't give a crap about like these people running about with their
spears.
I don't know. Yeah, their spears and their whatever this style. I didn't like. There's robots and there's dinosaurs. That's cool enough for me. But by the end of that, I was like so intrigued in that story. Listening to those, recorded tapes, like you were saying, Aadil, like I was engrossed, and that game, like, resonated with me, not just because it was mechanics and it was fun as hell, but also because those stories, not only I didn't care about these caveman people, I don't care in these factions, but the underlying story to it, and it's like if that was mainly told through holograms and video, like audio tapes, it's so easy to tell a story that way if you have a good writer.
Yeah,
and it's
completely.
like,
it's the idea that where I think we've lost things is that world building is more than like architectural design world.
yeah,
So like the Division 1 and 2 are both very like accurate in the sense of like they did maps of cities and they have streets and they put a lot of detail into physical world.
yeah,
But world building should be setting, not just place.
Completely.
And I think that the Division 1 gave me a really interesting setting, and the Division 2 hasn't.
Yep.
And to be honest,
yeah.
once you guys got a little far away from me level-wise, and I was like, I don't know what to do today. I was like, I didn't immediately say, like, so my urge to play the game is I enjoy playing game, and this is a game that's currently the most pleasurable, and I want to catch up, but not I want to play, like, there's this missing notion of I'm really drawn to playing this game as much as I can. If I didn't have colleagues / friends, that's a normal word to use instead. If I didn't have friends playing this game that I wanted to keep up with, I could easily take a week off of it, I think.
Yeah.
Would you come
When I
back to
played-
it at that point? Is
I mean,
the
it might,
gameplay loop
yeah.
satisfying for you enough?
So that's what I'm saying, is like I enjoy the gameplay, but like
The
something
story
is missing, and like
okay.
the gameplay won't change. If I was playing by myself, the gameplay won't change in a week. There'll still be a bunch of people playing,
True.
Yep.
so the urge to play it quite often in the first few weeks isn't there. And
Yeah,
so
the
what
pull
makes
isn't
me
there,
want
yeah.
to play it tomorrow morning or today or tonight or whatever will be, Ben's like 7 levels above me or whatever the fuck he is.
Yeah, well, it sounds like what I've read. It's like they do single player in a good way, so
Yeah.
you won't be left out in terms
Well,
of
I
that. But
think-
yeah, I want to hear about positives in the gameplay.
Just
talk about-
just
we will
just
talk
on
about
that point, I think actually one of the positives is they do quite well at
Scaling?
at level scaling. You
That's
know,
what I was about to say.
okay, I am say I was like 5 levels above Aadil,
think
and
you-
I could be in a completely different set of, completely different area of the map, different zone as such.
Yeah.
It would be easy enough for us to group together in Aadil's instance and to go around doing the
that's good.
missions and things that he was doing, and it bumps him up
And all the enemies up.
and the enemies. So actually it is a challenge kind of for, not necessarily as much for me, but it is more of a challenge for
Aadil.
Aadil, based on kind of the damage that his
but the
gear is doing
You
and all
can't power
those sorts of
level
things.
is the idea, right?
Yes, you can't power level. Yeah. It still tries to make it, difficulty. It's not like World of Warcraft, where you can be a level 60 character and go to a level 20 zone and help a
everything.
level 10 character kill everyone and just roll up through the ranks.
Yeah.
It scales it in a way which still makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's not just roped having to go around and doing those sorts of things. So actually me going
good.
back and saying, Aadil goes, I've got this side mission. I'm like, oh, I did that one like, a few days ago. I'm more than happy to go back and do that because it was enjoyable. Okay, I can add a little bit because actually I know where the choke points are. I know where the enemies are coming from.
Yeah.
And maybe just do it this way. Couldn't give a shit about the story. Anyway.
Well,
that's
it
right.
seems like Ubisoft have perfected the online experience in that term, and that's probably why, as you said, Ben, like you don't have much to say about the gameplay, and it's like you should do like because it's working, it's well,
Yeah.
and I think that's just a testament. It's like, yeah, it's fine, it's cool. This is what we expect, and that's a great thing to hear.
So I think this is exactly what I was going to say in response to Ben as well. It's not that there's nothing to say about the gameplay. It's just we're so used to saying negative things, and it's like, oh, everything's working. Like
That's refreshing.
it's like a perfected division, and like that's what we want in a loot shooter. And there's minor issues on sometimes between scaling and like survivability, maybe, but that's a topic for another day. Like it works in a way that like you just don't normally see. And one of the reasons why I haven't sort of played it in a couple days is because the scaling does work. And so once like Ben and Adam got the sufficient number of levels away from me, it was like, well, I'm never going to catch up. So it's always going to be scaling, but scaling works. So now I'll play it on my own time, knowing that I can engage with my friends and they can help me out in missions, etc. Because it won't matter. And that's really great because, like, that's a microcosm. Obviously, in week 1 or 2, this is like super microcosm-y, but this is a microcosm of like Aadil's representing the casual, and Ben and Adam are representing the more, and we can still play it together whenever we're all.
I think that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, it's super good, and I don't want to discount that with my like negative narrows. Like,
I
am, but like this has also meant that when I'm not in the mood, I don't feel the pressure because I know I can still play with my friends when we're all playing.
Yeah, you haven't got to keep up.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's
you
not
weren't being overly critical at all. I'm just saying, like, it's just an absolute testament to the game and the code it's running on and mechanics that we can complain about the story. Imagine that if a game's a story so we can complain about the story.
I think they've done really well at taking the Division 1 and they've gone, right, what worked, what didn't, in terms of the loop, in terms of how people connected, in terms of what we were doing. We know that the core gameplay does work, but actually how people approach it in different ways maybe doesn't. So let's amend that a little bit. Let's work on this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh shit! Okay, we know we want to make another one. Where do we put it? And it feels very much that the gameplay and how people connect with each other was the initial focus.
Yeah.
For where the team said, let's build on the Division 1. What do we build on? These are the things that we build on.
Fully.
And
it comes across in really like little things that mean a whole lot more. So Ben and I, we've talked about this a bunch, but like when you're playing with another person, they come across some sort of loot box, whether it's like gear or like collectibles you can donate for XP or whatever, or like trash, whatever. If Ben opens the thing, it just appears on the ground and I can just run over it and pick it up.
You don't have to do a separate animation.
In the Division 1, everyone had to queue in front of a crate.
I remember the launch issues when everyone was queuing.
Yeah, queuing at a PC, just like, I've done it. Got it.
And like that makes sense if you haven't thought about it. And like it's like they really saw what people were annoyed about in Division 1, and now it's like if I'm in a party with Ben and he opens the box, it'll throw the shit on the ground for me, and I'll just run past. And that includes like the generic reload crates.
Yeah,
like it's not just like so like they have crates which just refill your ammo, and even that'll dump shit on the ground. So like if Ben's hitting reload, he has to wait the second half to like reload in the animation, but I can just walk up to him.
Yeah, it's really nice to know that like Ubisoft have been able to hone in that experience, and even something like where I think of Apex Legends. I played literally like 2-3 matches of that. I installed it immediately, but it's like I played one game of Battlegrounds and a couple games of Apex Legends, and it's like you can immediately see like reiteration, the honing, like in terms of Apex, like okay, I'm picking up this scope, this vest, this thing, whatever, and it's like. All the best stuff, it's like immediately attached to your body, immediately attached to your weapons and stuff like that. It's automated. There's no,
really?
Okay, I have to, it's not like, okay, I have to go into the menu, unequip this, unequip that, have a look what's better, have a look at this, compare that. It's like, no, we're just going to do that for you. So it's like, it's good to see iteration.
Yeah.
And that's within a genre. Whereas when, with Ubisoft, they've also done that with a genre in terms of online games, but they've also done it within their own game, and yes, you expect that from a sequel, but it's still great to see. It had no online launch issues, and game looks beautiful.
I was going to say the best thing you could say with the Division 2 is that there wasn't an issue when it came out.
Absolutely not. I didn't hear about anybody having issues.
There's a minor bug we'll talk about next week probably because we're going over time. About Ben and I both had an issue. Which was consistent. That sucked gameplay wise. I think they've already patched it actually.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
But I think given that we're focusing on the positive now, we'll just mention that this was a teething issue. But like that's the thing is, it's a small teething issue.
Yeah.
And I think, like Lucy said, the thing that is remarkable is that we didn't have the standard thing. Like, think of how much shit went on with like Anthem.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week,
Yeah.
all the problems that happened, and I sort of made the point that I'm not surprised that these things happened because people weren't. This was a new genre, totally new
BioWare,
approach
yeah.
for BioWare, and I think the contrast between our conversation about like Anthem and these weird scaling things, etc., and our talk about Ubisoft and Division 2 is just like, it turns out these things are super complicated, and if you've done it before, you'll do a better job the next time.
Absolutely, like any game.
Yeah.
Game.
Well, like any
Equal's
job,
always better.
essentially.
Yeah.
The next time, if I'm designing an extension for someone, the next time I come to design an extension on a very similar house, it will probably be slightly better because I've considered the issues that happened on the previous design or the previous build. So you kind of you learn from.
We
what
wouldn't
you're
be
using, you
anywhere
use that knowledge.
if it wasn't for that ET game.
That's it.
Yeah, we'd all be in the landfill.
Everyone, not even video games, just everyone. We're all in the landfill.
No, don't you know? If we didn't throw out all of the copies of the ET game, the humanity would be living in. So this is
That's
just a
it.
fact.
Yeah,
We're
completely.
the same.
There needed to be a sacrifice. So, our listeners are probably a little bit more keyed into kind of what's going on in the industry in terms of how games are made and those sorts of things. But NoClip have kind of ramped up a little bit on their content, and they are putting out some very good documentaries at the moment about how games are made. And the developers' lives and things like that, publisher-developer relationships, stuff like that. There's other channels, there are other documentaries and people that you can follow that delve into this, but it's really worth understanding to know kind of when people approach a sequel, how they go about those sorts of things.
Yeah,
and just
like NoClip
rather than just
doing on
pitchforks
the development of Hades and how they're switching to an online service game from a one and done release. And also want to give a shout out to the guys who are making The Pedestrian. It's a very small indie game, probably never heard of it.
I haven't, but
but they're putting out like a devlog like every single month, and it's
nice.
So for me who's like, I don't know anything about this game dev, it's so interesting, like from just anybody, just look out for that, like appreciate what these devs go through, like sign up to newsletters, sign up to their devlogs, like
fully,
I couldn't even imagine the stuff that they go through, and then people scream at them online because.
Wait, are you saying that you don't? I mean, so I guess we're not announcing the new Tanked Up / Out of Lives
behind the scenes
publishing company.
Man, it's hard around here.
Lucy's going to do all the project management for. I mean, I thought that's what we were going to announce this episode.
How much money have you got?
I had to go to a tap room all day and drink. It was so hard.
The Out of Lives games publishing company will put out not even.
I had to get back for 7:30.
I don't think we could do Flash games.
I had to get back for 7:30.
That's true.
I was at 12 and I had to get.
Everyone, all you listeners need to acknowledge she did sacrifice time at a tap room to come record, and I think that's important.
It's a hard life.
Yeah.
Devs, you have
It's
no
a
idea.
hard life.
So Lucy,
Yes.
remembering the beers that you've already drank today,
Yes.
out of the two that you've had this evening, which were your favourite?
It's quite a tight one. I wasn't a massive fan of either. I think I'm
It's the worst kind of tight race.
No, they were both very nice, don't get me wrong. I say I'm not a massive fan of either, but considering the caliber of beers that I had today from like Glass House and Northern Monk, they just weren't as good. But I think I'm going to give it to Dig Brew Co because I want to represent Dig Brew Co. But it's
I don't know even know if you need
because it was less sweet. It was like the Gipsy Hill brew, the Trekker. It was just too sweet for me. It was 8.2% double APA. I think, I'm I don't think it was sweet from the alcohol, just sweet from like the amount of malt that they packed in there. Didn't taste like 8.2% medium body. It was okay, but I think I want to give it to Dig Brew Co. It was 6.8%, and as a stout, as we were saying last week, Aadil, something more filling, more comforting and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
nice to have a stout which does those kind of flavors, but it's not too sweet. It was slightly thin, but it was slightly thin at the start. It packed more of the like creaminess and heaviness into the second taste, but it just wasn't too sweet and vanilla and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like they were just too sweet for me today, and that's why I didn't like them probably as much as something else at the start.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Dig Brew Co. It was a tough one, but I'm gonna go for Dig Brew Co. What's it called?
How about you, my friend Ben?
Durr. Sorry, I
Yeah,
will
the
come in.
Durr. How do I forget?
Yeah.
Durr. It was like Durr. What's it called? It's called Durr.
Yeah.
For me, two very good beers. Two beers I've enjoyed that I would more than happily drink again. Both of them I would have had a second of as well. It's often a factor for me whether I would have another beer straight afterwards. I think this week I'm going to go for the Yonder. By no means does that mean the Loka Poly is kind of like a lesser beer. It is a very good IPA. It's just a standard IPA. It's giving me fruit. It's giving me those honeydew melons. So it's offsetting that fruit with a little bit of bitterness that was running through there as well. Very, very easy to drink. I think the Yonder though, just that level of complexity it had about it. And the fact that I was struggling to describe what was going on, because there was so much going on, and it was working so well. That lavender, those floral notes I was getting, along with that orange that was kicking through. There were a few other things going on with this that it just made a very, very good, very rounded sort of flavour that was super easy to just put back, and the Yonder perhaps is a beer that you could drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and just keep going, and you just would not worry about it. It wouldn't faze you. You wouldn't feel it. Obviously at some point you would, but it would just allow you to go and go and go. I think maybe the bitterness on the Loka Poly, it reminds you that yes, there's that element of kind of like that tropical fruit there, and that bitterness just grounds you maybe a little bit in good beer, nice IPA. Does what it is suggesting it does with even just that limited range of just saying that it is what Eldorado and Simcoe kind of on the can. Remind myself. Eldorado and Simcoe. Just the Yonder was just a bit more, just a little bit more in its complexity.
It seems like close margins this week. We have the battle of the less sweet and battle of the most confusing. So, Aadil, what's your battle?
My battle is actually quite straightforward this week, I think. I liked both beers, but I think the Alligator Tugboat just took it away. I think it was more interesting. The smooth, the smooth taste curve wasn't betrayed by simpleness, and so it was just consistently throughout the highs and lows of the taste curve. The malts and the hops were working in tandem, so there was no sort of trade off where it's and while the Dreamlining by Garaje and Track, because it was a collaboration, if that wasn't clear, with Track Beer, was interesting, and it had a lot going on. It felt more stilted. It felt more like we're doing this, then we're doing this, then we're doing that.
Yeah, it didn't flow as well as the...
Yeah, and just to be honest, it was a really dynamic taste, the Tugboat, and it flowed really easily, and I really liked how that overbearing sweetness was sort of so low down.
Yes.
All it did was make sure that you weren't being like, fuck, this is super dank. It was
and
this is dank, but I'm not worried because something's going on. And like upon reflection, that something on is like this loaded sweetness. And again, those things were married together. So no, except for that, maybe that one moment in the taste curve where I was like, oh, there's suddenly like a really strong hint of bitterness.
Yeah, because
everything was just really smooth.
Yeah, when I looked on Untapped, I said that it was like quite sprucey, quite resiny and piney. So that end taste that you got was definitely resonant with me as well. So you're not going crazy yet, Aadil. You're not going crazy. Yeah.
So I think they're both good beers, but the Alligator Tugboat by Pressure Drop just took it away on structure and like married notes. Like the notes were really balanced. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So, if you, listener, want to talk to us about the beers you're drinking or the games that you're playing, you can do so in lots of different ways. We are at tankedup_cast on Twitter, tankedupcast@gmail.com, tankedupcast over on Instagram.
Who knows?
And I have pictures from last week that I forgot to upload.
Oh, Christ, I didn't do it today.
We'll do that tomorrow. Take a picture of your empty can, Lucy.
Empty can, I can.
Yeah,
I still got a whole glass of my Gipsy Hill double IPA, so that's why the Dig Brew Co is my favourite. But yes, do that.
My big problem is Ben does such a good job with actually giving tasting notes for the postings, and so I was like, I don't remember what I thought of this thing.
He does an amazing job of segueing, and that's why I'm never like... There's never like, oh god, a pause to take a picture of my beer, because he's a great host.
To be fair, I spent this week, obviously we had a bit of a blip, then the Instagram account got banned for some reason. So we couldn't upload any photos from episode 154. So I put a load of those up, but I didn't have a fucking clue. I had to track through the recording to find what we said.
So that's what I suspected, and what I'm saying is I wasn't prepared to do that, so I didn't post anything.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad when you're when you're doing some work on the PC. I can just
can you just explain what you had to do to get your Instagram account back on? Like, 'cause it was weird.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
So to get the Instagram account back online,
you had to have a ransom note.
Yeah.
Yeah,
almost. I had to take a photo of myself holding up a piece of paper which had a set of numbers written on it, which they had emailed me, plus my name and the account's name on it.
And I then also had to send that day's newspaper evidence of life.
Yes.
I had to have Michael J. Fox in the background.
Yes.
Loads of
Jackson.
Kelly.
Loads of hoops to jump through. Jesus. All right, hang on. Don't put Michael J. Fox in their fucking corner.
No,
Jesus Christ.
But I will say the Michael J. Fox and hoops comment just makes me think of Teen Wolf, where Michael J. Fox is a basketball playing werewolf.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that movie, it's amazing. The central conceit is, if you were a werewolf, you'd be better at basketball than if you weren't a werewolf.
Well,
and it doesn't even make sense at that point.
Yeah, we always talk about films for animals like Theodore Rex.
When we reboot Out of Line, it's just going to be
we talked about that.
We did. We have an extended conversation on Theodore Rex, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes, so that was the Instagram story, and we are TankedUpCast on Instagram. I'm at Nova_47 on Twitter, on PSN, on Steam. Come and play The Division with us if you feel like it. Aadil, you are at the Omniarch, I believe, almost everywhere,
including my own Instagram account, but also, more importantly, Steam, PSN, etc. Twitter. That's the one I'm thinking. Also, to be honest, if you go facebook.com/theomniarch, you'll get to my page, and you can ask to be my friend there. But obviously, that's not a thing. I just realized it's one of the things that is all of the things.
All of the things
that I'm the Omniarch on all of the things. Sorry, you guys all froze when I said that, and I couldn't tell if you were like. It looked like you guys were just like, oh, go fuck yourself. But I didn't.
Moving on swiftly. Lucy is Juicy Lucy 9.
Yep, everywhere. Steam, Untapped, Xbox, PlayStation.
Steam
And
Tapped.
I'm Juicy Lucy 99 on Instagram. I changed it. I don't post on there. But
Cool.
follow me.
We're also not on Snapchat because we're all too old to figure that out.
Oh God!
Man,
You think we're
Kim's
just
watching a
about on
TV
Instagram?
program, and people are saying words and phrases. I haven't got a fucking clue.
Like
What was it in
Loka?
French?
No. It's all in English. It's just in modern
Is it in English or is it in young
20-year-old
speak?
English.
Speak.
Oh, some of the things
Mate,
that people say, I haven't got a
just-
fucking clue. Like
I
pang,
don't know.
analyze,
I'd like
Yeah,
to be
analyze,
young,
pang. Not a
and
clue.
I'd like to think that when I'm like 80, I'm like still hip with the kids.
But you're
But
already
even
not
that
hip
is
with
just
the
like,
kids. Like,
exactly.
you're not
If I'm
80 now
saying
and you're
hip,
not. Yeah.
then there you go. But
The one that really had me thinking about my age and that really stumped me was two people meeting for the first time, and one of them saying to the other one, "You look well." I'm like, what? What do you
I don't
mean?
know,
Like you
I'm
knew them
old
previously
enough,
and
I
they
know.
didn't look well, or they?
I'm connected enough to understand that.
okay.
And I'm old. I get
No,
what you're
no.
saying.
I don't
What
know.
makes me have the firm grip of death on my like shoulder is when I listen to gaming podcasts, which with like games it happens.
I
The
don't.
Wii was my first console, and I'm
Oh
like,
god, that's weird. Oh god.
no, hold on. They preface it by like, I'm studying engineering at
Oh,
college
no.
/ uni, and
No,
like,
no, no,
the
no,
Wii
no,
was
no,
my
no.
first console. I'm like,
No. The worst thing I can do is think about where I was in the world when my students were born.
don't.
I avoided that. Like,
It's best not to. Just don't.
I mean, the
Don't.
reason why is because I am approaching the end of my post-secondary education, which I started. in
That's a nice
2001.
way to put it.
Yeah. But, like, I started post-secondary education in 2001. So the age of my students in
God.
second university is basically we were born just before you started university.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's even scarier than I could ever imagine.
yeah, it's the worst.
Oh Christ!
Time catches up to
Yeah,
all of us.
let's end this because I'm old.
So anyway,
and we're all
I like
old.
beer. Lucy likes beer. Ben likes beer. I sometimes like video games. Lucy sometimes likes video games. Ben sometimes likes video games. This has been tanked up for another week. I've been Aadil.
I'm crying.
Bye.
Wow,
Yeah, I just was like, no, we're done.
that's awful. That's awful to think. Oh, I thought mine was bad.